Hi and good evening. Warm welcome everybody to this week's online Money Book Club reading and discussion. We plan to do a whole lot of reading. I welcome all the members who have joined me here on Zoom, and to everybody watching us live elsewhere. Join in. Today we are closing this book, this amazing book titled Women and Money. And no matter what age no matter where you are, we highly recommend this book as a must read for women who is looking to take charge of their money lives, or who have already taken charge. Also, you will definitely enjoy this book and take away a lot from this book. The purpose of this online money book club, which is a platform that's been created by Women on Wealth for women, it is so that it serves women in getting familiar with the idea of finance, of reading about finance, listening to finance, and listening to different perspectives that the authors bring around money from across the globe. We have been, this book club has been around for over 2 years now, and we have read many books in the club. And the kind of books we read here are books related to personal finance, investing, habit, and mindset building, because a lot of the work that we do in our money lives also involve us working on our habits, shifting our habits, and then shifting our mindset so that we are able to create wealth with much more ease, as long as if our internal war is quietened, then we are able to function much more easily when it comes to really dealing with money in a practical sense. So that's what the purpose is. So I warmly welcome everybody who's joined me. Yadu, Monica, Sneha, Rosina, they are here with me. So today's format, I want to keep it a little different, because I got this brilliant idea last night. I think we should start with reading the chapter, and then we pause for discussion later, because some of us may have read the chapter, some of us may not even have picked up the book, which is totally fine. So anybody who is listening to this, if you've not read this book, had not heard of this, then please stick around. Okay, so I request anyone who's here who would like to volunteer and read the book for everybody. We will be reading from chapter 7 on commitments from the book Women and Money. Anyone who would like to volunteer, do put your name in the chat, and I will be sharing the book on the screen, so you will have no problem reading from the screen. Anyone who would like to volunteer while I share the book? And we'll be reading from chapter 7. We started that last week, and hopefully we should be able to complete it today or in the next 2 days and start a new book. Let me share in the meantime. If you'd like to read for the community, do put your name in the chat. Okay, looks like our members are not in a position to read, but you are in a position to listen to me, so I can do the reading for everyone. So reading from chapter 7, the commitments. And let me begin from here. You and your spouse or partner. I trust that you can see the screen as well. It is so easy to hand over responsibility of financial matters to your partner. History works in favor of that, as handling the money was always viewed as a man's domain. But it's the 21st century, my dear ladies. It's time to let go of that convenient excuse. I see far too many women lazily fall into these stereotypical roles because the money stuff mystifies them or doesn't interest them. Being in control of your financial destiny requires that you be an active participant, not just by paying bills, but in overseeing your investments too. Take this step, and I think you will be surprised how this helps your relationship. I have a funny story to tell you. When I decided to write this book, I began my research and sought out many experts and professionals who specialized in working with women. After speaking to many of them, I decided it was time I stopped asking questions in general about women and started asking personal questions about how these women handle their money themselves. The answers I got startled me, to say the least. One brilliant academic admitted that her life partner handled their finances. She just didn't want to deal with it. She tried to read the statements, but none of it made any sense to her. Besides, she trusted him to take care of everything. So let me get this straight, I said. I have just been on the phone with you for over an hour, and you can tell me every hormonal, biochemical, and psychological reason why women behave in certain ways, yet you don't feel you have what it takes to understand money. Well, you can imagine that she got a compassionate earful from me. To repay the favor of the time she spent on the phone with me, I offered to review all her financial statements to make sure that her partner knew what he was doing with their money. The next morning, my fax machine started spitting out one statement after another, along with a note that explained that after our conversation, the professor couldn't stop thinking about what I had said to her about being in control of her own money. So that night, at her request, her partner walked her through every financial statement and explained everything to her. He was thrilled finally to have her involvement, and she was so happy too, because for the first time she really understood what was going on in her financial life. Her partner her partner had in fact done a great job with her money, so I called to tell her that. When she picked up the phone, she told me that ever since that night she felt like she had a healthier relationship with her money and her man. She actually loved and respected her more. He actually loved and respected her more for taking this step. She also confessed that their sex had never been better. If only she had known, she would have gotten involved with her money sooner. See what I mean about people telling me everything? If your partner has been nudging you for years to show interest in your financial life, then it will be easy for you to put this book down and tell him you are ready to become his financial partner too. He will no doubt be excited to have you on board at last. A good place to start this new phase of your relationship is with the Save Yourself plan. You can use that as a template to learn about what your husband or partner has already done for the family. Please approach this as a collaborative endeavor. You are not putting him to the test or questioning his choices. He is your partner, your lover, your life mate. Respect that bond. And if you do find that some decisions he made run counter to the advice in the Save Yourself plan, then talk it through. No accusations. He deserves the no shame, no blame treatment as much as you do. I hope your guy is a financial whiz and made all the right moves for your family. But quite often, I see women mistake the enthusiasm men have for handling finances for expertise. So if your man made a few mistakes, no worries. The point is that you are now a team that can make the necessary financial adjustments. Trouble ahead. Now, if you are years into a relationship with someone who actually likes the old fashioned dynamic of being in total control of the money, you obviously want to be sensitive to that. Take the time to explain to him that your becoming involved with the finances is not about him giving up power or questioning his abilities. It is about your need to be knowledgeable and involved, to share the responsibility with him. If your husband resists, however, I think you need to wonder what is really going on. It is important that you have a totally open relationship about every penny you have and you do not have. I am asking you to settle for nothing less. Home finances and the stay at home mom. This is one commitment that women get wrong time and time again. Stay at home moms who equate a paycheck with power. Talk about putting yourself on sale. Do you know how often stay-at-home mothers tell me they don't know how to ask their husbands for money to buy something the family needs, or God forbid, something for themselves? Curiously, they tend to be responsible for the monthly bill paying, but not the family's long-term investment strategy. The thankless job is theirs, and when there isn't enough money to cover the monthly expenses, they are the ones made to feel guilty. Often the problem is that there simply isn't enough money coming in to cover all the bills, not that the stay at home mom wasn't financially responsible. But women put up with this dynamic. It's my guess that they have an underlying sense of guilt or gratitude that the husband is the one working while they get to remain at home. I want every stay at home mother today, and those of you who think you may go this route someday, to listen up and listen good. The job of the stay at home mother is equal to the job of the breadwinner. Let me repeat the job, please read that again. The job of the stay at home mother is equal to the job of the breadwinner. Your job is as important, as vital, and as necessary as that of your husband who earns a paycheck. When you both value the incredible work it takes to run a household, it completely changes how the finances work. No stay at home mom should ever have to ask for money or feel guilty about spending money. To behave that way presumes that the money coming in is his. It is not his, it is yours, both of yours. When you see that paycheck as being jointly yours, you suddenly don't need to ask for anything, right? Now, that said, you both must make the commitment to figuring out how your family will be able to handle life on one paycheck. You may well want to be a stay at home mom, but that doesn't automatically translate into its working out financially. Both you and your husband or partner need to work together to see what makes sense for your family. If you cannot survive on one income, that is not your husband's fault. This is a two-way street. You both share responsibility for figuring out if this is financially feasible. Maybe you need to work part time, or maybe you need to consider living in a less expensive area. The point is that as a team, you both must take responsibility for whether you can live comfortably on one income. If you both agree that it is financially feasible for one parent to stay home, you need a strategy so you are never asking your husband for cash. My recommendation is that you both agree that whatever money is left over at the end of each month, after paying the bills, funding your retirement savings, and so on, is to be evenly split. In other words, the extra money goes into your separate checking accounts, and you are both free to spend that money as you wish. If you have yet to build up your own private savings fund, that is where you find the money to get it going. But remember, if your husband wants to use his share of the extra money to buy some electronic toy or a ski trip with the guys, he is free to do it. The point is, if you have collectively made sure all your family's financial obligations are met, then beyond that point, you should both be free to spend or save your share of the extra money however you want. Now, what happens if there is no extra money whatsoever? Then both of you need to make equal sacrifices. Just because your husband leaves the house to go to work doesn't mean he has extra privileges to spend money. If you don't have the money to go out for lunch with your friends, he can't go out to lunch with his co-workers. You've got to share the burden equally. Remember, the one who brings home the paycheck doesn't have the power to decide how it's spent. The two of you who share that money have equal decision-making power. Give the relationship power over the money. Do not make money more powerful than the relationship. Woman as breadwinner. The statistics show that Increasingly, women are out earning their husbands, a phenomenon unthinkable in our mother's generation, and so newsworthy even now that it was a trend story on the cover of several national magazines. Yes, the woman as breadwinner is another example of how history is being rewritten in our lifetime. This radical shift in our society means that while the rules are changing for women, they are also necessarily changing for men, which creates new problems for men and women alike. Whether their paycheck covers the household expenses or not, men today still carry the emotional and financial burden of the traditional role of breadwinner. When both spouses work but the wife out earns her husband, I can assure you that no matter what is said, earning less than his wife affects a man's sense of his own masculinity. He may say it doesn't matter. He may say he's fine with it, but trust me, it is hard for a man when his friends make more than he does, when his friends have fancier cars or bigger houses. So imagine how hard it is for him to be truly at peace with the notion that his wife brings home a paycheck bigger than his. It takes a mighty big and enlightened man to be comfortable with this role reversal. Now, what I've seen happen time and again in these relationships is that the wife tends to disown her power and downplay her role as breadwinner. She doesn't talk about it. She backs away from any acknowledgement of it because she doesn't want her husband to feel bad or to feel less than. In fact, this kind of behavior enables the man in creating a dysfunctional relationship of his own with money. Many times I've seen men in this situation get themselves in trouble financially. Spending money becomes a matter of pride, and so, by whatever means necessary, borrowing against credit cards, taking out a home equity line of credit, whatever it takes, having money to burn like a big shot becomes all important. Interestingly, stay at home dads don't seem to suffer from this problem. Once a man makes the decision to run the household, that becomes his job. It is his choice to raise kids rather than funds, and therefore it's easier to reconcile to himself and others. The solution to this problems, the solution to this problem, start talking. Understand that no matter what he says, his thoughts are not in harmony with his words and actions. It is your job, ladies, to help your man rewrite history for himself. Let him know he's not the only one who feels uncomfortable. Let him know that you're in this together, that you're both blazing a new trail here. Most important, it is critical that you both understand that this change won't happen overnight. So keep talking. Take this matter out of the darkness and into the light. Keep talking until his and your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions are in perfect harmony. You and your kids. Do you know how many adult children come to me with a mix of anger and sadness about how they feel their parents let them down financially by not being honest? Children who suddenly learn in their 20s and 30s that mom and dad don't have any retirement savings because they plowed every penny into their children's college education. Or even worse, they financed college with a home equity line of credit they intended to pay off once the kids were out of school. But then they were suddenly pushed into early retirement and couldn't find a new job at 55. So now the children are worried that mom and dad will lose the house if they can't repay the loan. And then where will they live? I also hear from college kids who find themselves with $3,000 in credit card debt. At freshman orientation, they were practically assaulted with offers to open up a credit card account. But no one ever took the time to teach them how to handle that card responsibly. As angry as I am at credit card issuers for preying on clueless college kids, I lay a lot of the responsibility on the parents. Before you send your kids out into the world, you need to teach them how to be financially responsible. Here's what it takes. Be honest with yourself and with your kids. Being a good parent is not dependent on what you spend on your children. If you do not have the money for the $150 pair of jeans or the latest video game, you must tell them that. Simply putting it on your credit card is dishonest. It prevents you from moving toward a life where you are financially secure. And it gives your kids the false impression that they can have whatever they want. That child ends up being miserably in debt as an adult because he or she knows no better. Be honest too about paying for your children's college education. As far as I am concerned, there is no more loving gesture you can make for your children than to make sure you will have financial security in retirement. That is your priority. If you simply don't have the money to save for both retirement and their college costs, then retirement must be your focus. Do not feel guilty about this and do not hide it. You must discuss your intentions with your children as early as middle school, not to scare them or depress them, but to motivate them to do well so they have the best chance of qualifying for grants, aid, and scholarships. Maybe they will have to get a part time job so they can create their own college fund. Let them know, let them know they and you will need to take advantage of college loans. This should truly be a family affair. There is no blame or shame in not being able to write a blank check. Your honesty about the situation and your ability to respect your children by involving them early is to me the essence of being a good parent. Be a teacher. Our ability to handle money responsibly is not something we are born with, it is something we learn. And unfortunately, our educational system does a lousy job of teaching personal finance to kids. The reality is that it is rarely part of any school curriculum. So the job falls entirely to parents. You must teach and show your kids the value of money. Once a child turns 12 or so, I think it is wise to involve your kids in the family finances. Have them sit with you as you pay the bills, not to make them feel grateful for what you provide, but so they have an understanding of what life costs. Here's an idea. Let your child guess how much the monthly electric bill is. You might find that he or she will think twice before leaving lights or the TV on after leaving the room. One of the most important lessons you can impart is how to handle credit cards. If you have a strong FICO score, I recommend adding your child to an existing account as an authorized user once he or she reaches the age of 15. That entitles your child to use the credit card while you get the bill. So you have the opportunity to educate, set limits, and so on. It also entitles your child to start building a credit history based on your FICO score. That can be a huge leg up for your kids once they graduate from college. With a solid FICO credit score, they will have an easier time renting an apartment, and chances are they won't have to make big deposits to open accounts with the gas company, the cable company, the cell phone company, and so forth. A strong FICO score might even tip the scales in their favor when they are applying for a job. Employers often check the FICO scores of job applicants to assess the general reliability. If you do not have a strong credit score, I want you to get your child a secured credit card that is in their name only, and make sure the deposit is set low at $250 or so. Just like a driver's permit, this card is their testing ground where they learn how to spend responsibly, ideally with money they earn either from a part time job or doing extra chores around the house. And I do mean extra. I don't think any child's allowance should be based on performing basic chores. It is important that you teach your kids that certain responsibilities are expected of them, period, without the incentive of an allowance. That's their contribution to the family. Beyond those jobs, you can then create an allowance that covers additional tasks. For example, perhaps setting and clearing the dinner table is a standard job they perform as a member of the family. But washing dishes twice a week is something that helps them earn their allowance. You and your constantly broke friends or family. A relationship that is defined by what you put into it materially is not a healthy relationship. Put another way, you can be the most supportive and loving friend, sibling, cousin, etc., without ever giving away a penny. Money is not central to any relationship and is not a prerequisite for maintaining a relationship. To think otherwise is to devalue yourself and the relationship. And by now, you know you are to never put yourself on sale. Yet, I know this is another vexing commitment for women. We feel so guilty if we are doing better than a financially struggling friend that we agree to co sign a loan or co sign a credit card agreement without weighing the risks to our own financial health. Or when a beloved brother who has already gone through bankruptcy calls to say he needs $25,000 loan for another ill-fated financial gambit, we say yes, even though the money totally cleans out the cash in our emergency savings account. Or when our cousin calls looking for investors in his new business, we decide to forego the $4,000 retirement contribution this year so we can help him launch his dream. Emotionally, every one of those actions makes perfect sense, but emotion doesn't build financial security. You cannot let your heart dominate every decision in your life. You must engage your head too. It is a delicate balancing act, but so often I see women just let everything fall onto the emotional side of the scale. A woman who is in touch with the eight qualities will use them to contemplate the financial impact of always saying yes to friends and family in need. Remember, you never want to give money that depletes your financial security. It's that nurturing trait running amok again. So let me repeat, you cannot give if it weakens you. I would be doubly cautious of anyone who needs your help in getting a loan. You need to realize that lenders love to give out money. It's how they earn a profit. So if a lender sees something in your friend or brother that makes them so nervous, they insist on a co-signer, you should be nervous too. Please understand that when you co-sign a loan, you are essentially agreeing to pay off the debt if your friend or relative can't. If you are unable to live up to that responsibility, your financial life is going to be a mess. My general advice is never to co-sign a loan or a credit card agreement for someone who can't either on his or her own. It's a clear sign they have problems being financially responsible, and your commitment to them should not rest on your willingness to be their financial backstop. Perhaps the hardest step to take is to gauge whether your financial help really is a supportive gesture. Loaning money to a sister who is knee deep in debt because her husband refuses to get a job and keeps tapping their home equity is not as kind and generous as it may at first seem. What your sister really needs is your emotional support to stand up to her husband and insist that they no longer pile on more and more debt. Giving her money doesn't change her husband's behavior. In fact, it might just give her an excuse to avoid the problems in her marriage. It might ultimately be more supportive not to lend money, at least until she takes some steps to address the matter that caused the financial mess in the first place. Let me pause here. Thank you all have joined in. So I'm pausing here so that we can reflect on all that I read today for everybody. And let's discuss some of the things we have read and we can continue. So anyone who'd like to share what have been some highlights from the pages I read today?
Hi, Sheetal, Yadu here. Hi. So what struck me was, how global the issues are. I mean, so much of what is said, we think that it's relevant only to us or to like middle class society in India, because of the way, women don't want to take financial responsibility or have not been taking, but it's pretty much relevant everywhere. I think probably the only difference was that, this lady's husband was happy that she took interest. Here, it may not be as well taken by the men folk sometimes, but yeah, that was pretty significant. So, if we are discussing, ways of financial freedom, we can even discuss with our friends abroad and from other countries.
Yes, how are people, living their lives and managing, and yes, across the borders too, like you said, the problem's the same. I think because we, in a lot of ways, human emotions are very similar. We react, respond in a similar fashion, right? You can get angry. You can feel the same kind of anger in India. You can feel the same kind of anger in the Americas.
Yeah.
Bhagya is sharing that I like that how she thoughtfully put about early teaching of finances to children. Thanks for sharing, Bhagya. Okay, what about others? What did you capture from this one? This book, this chapter is titled Commitments, by the way. Okay, anyone? Sima, you have your notes from this week's reading.
why do you why, why do you always say notes, Sheetal? Do you see my
Because
notebook from there? Do you have
yes, because
third eye
you
or what?
yes, because you share that you're reading and you're making notes, right? So that's how intense it is when it comes to reading and capturing for you. So please share. What would you like to share?
Yeah, I think I was very committed for this chapter. Looks like, and then sincerely, I made lots. And first thing now, nowadays, what I do is when I pick up the book, instead of writing and just reading, I just take one action before starting the chapter. For example, my PF account was stuck. So I'll make an action and then start doing, right? So something. Okay, now about commitment from this book, something what I like the most is how we can train to be married girls, right? So okay, it is our whatever we have done, whatever we have not done is fine, but at least for the next generation she has put up some very good tips, right? You get into an agreement or you discuss well in advance, right? The way you plan your honeymoon place, you can as well plan how are you going to share it, or like, after 5 years if you want to go, how are we going to do it, right? So it makes sense. Otherwise, anyway, that is where the problem begins, right? One. And also there are lot of things that she has covered about where to say no, right, with respect to the sharing of money, and especially with respect to the, even with the kids, okay, I can't support for your studies, right? It takes lot of strength to say that, because otherwise the whole family is put into trouble, other than at least try to make some part safe, right? um, that way. So that is something. And she calls it wedding vows, right? So one. And how we can, even how we can put aside our emergency money, and what are the time, what are the situations when we may touch it, or when we may end up using it, right? Which covers, like, your favorite sister has mortgaged her house or something, and then you end up paying from your emergency amount that you have set aside. Or being a good wife, when your husband wants to do a startup, you end up using that money, and you end up joining your friend who is a financial wreck. Then suppose in your family or your friends group there is a birthday party or something, you end up paying. Instead she says like, okay, don't do that. You say, I will do all the work, but no money. So I will take care of buying the gifts, but I may not contribute for the gift, right? So something which is like, yeah, I started following it. Like, even if I share a cab or something with my friends, even if they are sharing like, whatever, 10%, 20% is also okay, rather than me being, be very very generous and just giving away, right? So how can you be penny wise? So, and of course, there are lots actually. In fact, she touches upon about Sybil score. Yeah, like solid 2 pages, Sheetal. I can just talk for 2 hours. And then, yeah, a lot of learnings, lots. Seriously, I made certain corrections already, kind of,
Mm,
right, with
mhm.
respect to what I should do, what I should not do. And I was also very proud that, like, yeah, I have already done couple of things. I mean, it sounded very bad even when I was getting married or whatever, right? So it's like, wow, at that time everybody felt bad. I don't know, but I just did it, and then I think it was right. So that kind of feeling also I got in some of the parts. So yeah, this is, I think we should, this page, this at least for how to decide on a financial advisor, I think you haven't reached that point while reading now. I want to take a Xerox of
Yeah.
that and then use it seriously, because that is what, at this point, I'm not sure whether I can really do it without a financial advisor or something. But if I want to, there is a clear cut instruction how to go about it.
Yes,
Absolute clear
yes,
cut. Absolute clear cut.
yes.
So I didn't. Yeah.
I think if we have the time, I would definitely like to read that together, because a lot of us, and I love how she begins by saying that even if we have a professional handling our money, but we got to be involved. But the scenario for a lot of people, and a lot of people come in and share with us as well, right? That they've had financial advisors and now they want to take charge because they have not been involved so much, so they don't know what's happening with their money.
Right.
So, and also, some of the things that people share with us, that the financial advisor is showing whatever growth, and that's their job, right? Whatever the advice they give, it helps us generate return. And many women come in when we are not involved. I mean, uh, returns are good, but we are not just investing for the sake of returns. We're investing because we want to create a certain quality of life. We want to reach certain goals, which will then help us have a certain kind of life that we envision. So many people get trapped in this whole conversation, or, oh, I am getting returns, good returns, but I think we should be able to really see that the good returns that we are able to see, are they good enough? And but how do you assess, right? Again, with the when you are involved, when you are reading, creating that awareness, you are in a better position to compare and see whether my good returns are uh, really good, or are there better options there. So I feel that these are some other things that I often get to hear from women, and where we help them see where their own awareness and education can help them be more involved, right? And create the life that they want. Ultimately, it's about that, right? More money is about the life that we want to build.
Absolutely.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
we do
Along
have
with
some
this,
comments. Go ahead, Seema.
yeah, along with this, while you were reading, you also mentioned about no shame, no blame. She has a
Yeah.
chapter under that, right? I think for me in this book, no shame, no blame, and this commitment, right? Of course, we have eight qualities that we have to chase, like many good things. But no shame, no blame, and then commitments, I think, are the best so far what I have read. In fact, while reading about commitments, I again went back to no shame, no blame, because that time I had not really understood. When I read commitments, it really opened the meaning of those things, and then that's when I said, like, yeah, it made me take certain actions. I didn't know how to feel, right? So, and I found that many people are in the same boat. I mean, if I just start chatting, asking some questions, and then they say, okay, I'm also in the same thing. I mean, since 5 years, 6 years, whatever numbers, right? So no shame. So,
Yeah.
and then all of us were just blaming. So that way.
Yes, sometimes we blame ourselves. Sometimes we look for people we can blame because it,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can help us feel better,
yeah.
because
You
of
know that
you.
there are 10 people in the same boat, so it's okay.
Yeah, makes you feel a part of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. We do have some comments I'd like to read from some of our members here. um, Bhagya is sharing that not helping our siblings when they need us financially is very difficult from the heart. Okay, Bhagya, please go back and reread the line where she talks about, don't let emotions come, um, then do some head work as well, not just hard work, right? Sally is saying the problem is that people in general know about stuff like prenups and other agreements, but very few actually resort to them for the good. Yes, because again, mm, ashubh hota hai na. We are just getting married. Why are you already talking about, what could go wrong and what not? And the question I put was, what will it take for that to change, for the situation to change? What is definitely with more women, more of us becoming financially educated. Um, Now a lot of women will also build a whole lot more wealth. I think that's what we anticipate, right? We are all, some of us are not married, some of us are already married, we have some have children. With many women becoming more financially educated and aware, we will build a lot more wealth. So we will not walk into just a wealthy family or not, but we will also go with a lot more wealth being created, and with the power to build more wealth in the new home as well, right? So that future is something that is coming about with each one of you here. And maybe then the conversations around, sometimes we don't talk about money because I don't know, I may not be bringing as much, I feel, but when that change is dynamic with change as is being created, I think it's going to be we will feel more responsible in having those conversations, right? So that's another thing.
I like how she has given examples that help us bring commitment in the right perspective of finance. So it's not like when she says about heart and head, we have to whenever we give any commitment financially, we have to remember that it can only be fulfilled financially as well. When we are lending money, or she's mentioned like co-signing a loan or lending to a sibling, or even taking a credit card, which we don't keep a check of. So when we are taking a financial commitment, it can only be repaid financially. So we have to be very conscious of that, because then it not only falls on us, but it can affect the family as well. So if, say, if we have co-signed a loan for somebody else and they default, then it can be a problem for all our families' financial planning as well. So I liked that aspect, where we have to like keep thinking on those aspects.
One huge takeaway for me, earlier when I read this book also, and something we focus on in the Money Gym program also, is the retirement fund, and how even now, it's very common to see that parents will give their everything to create and give their children the best of education, uh, without making retirement a priority. um, and how she emphasizes on the fact that if there is that difficult choice to be made, if we have limited funds, then choose your retirement. Because if we create a education, to a large extent, decent education, parents are able to give uh, with the running household expenses, right? Monthly expenses, basic education up till college, make them capable of going out and doing something of their own. Then otherwise we become a burden, right? If we don't build our retirement, then we can be a burden to the children later on in life as well. And also the fact that nobody will give us a loan to retire. So we have to build it. So this is, again, I think for a lot of people, a tough choice to make when it's between your children's life, higher education, and then your retirement. Choose retirement is still a tough choice for parents to make. Any parents who is here who could share how you feel about this thought?
Sheetal, hi, this is Parul here.
Hi.
Hi.
Go ahead.
So, while a lot of thoughts in this book are, or rather, they're thought provoking, honestly, nothing can be implemented without a context. And genuinely, the Indian context is different. I don't mean to say it in a good or a bad way, but it is different. I cannot imagine a situation where a parent would say to an 18-year-old that honestly, get out of the house. I'm not going to bear your graduation money also. I just can't imagine it. It's not even in my reference frame. Forget about doing it or implementing. But that's a big reality for anyone who is in the Western European or a US countryside. So in our context, I understand that we have to focus on retirement. I'm not saying that it has to go off, but genuinely, for a lot of people, children are their retirement. I mean, no offense either way.
True. Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
to me, this choice is irrelevant because there is no choice. It is no choice for Indian parents. So the moment you decided to go ahead and have children really means that you have to honestly live with that parental responsibility till a particular time. And now you can draw a line. You can say that, okay, once you have become independent, after that, I don't care, that's fine. But you will support them to a particular limit.
Yeah.
And the same goes for other conversations also, whether it is like, supporting your sibling or signing of loans. First of all, the context is very different because in US, for example, women can be co-signers because after the feminist movement, the laws were changed, and therefore whatever a man and a woman brought onto the table in marriage was equally distributable. The law is not the same in India because you follow different marriage laws, right? You could be governed by Hindu Marriage Act or a Muslim Marriage Act and so on and so forth, which means property division and prenup are governed by different things. Okay, I'm not saying you don't have to be conscious about your own money issues, but the contexts are very different. So unless we understand it in relation to our own self, which all of us would have different contexts really, even in this table of 20 people, it's difficult to generalize it in our context, is all that I have to say.
Okay. Can I?
Yes, Seema, go ahead.
Yeah. With respect to the siblings, when you mentioned Parul, see, in this book, she mentions at one point, she mentions that, see, money can't buy relationships. Okay, and then so far Indians thought that money can buy relationships. For example, somebody visits us and then we have to give them gifts. Okay, they take the gift and then most of them come home only to take gifts. Okay, and then possibly I have stopped, right? Seriously. And then even with respect to the siblings, so I take a call saying that, like, okay, uh, one or the, like, down the line 10 years, I know this how the sibling may perform, so I may have to support, right? So I will not support anything now for the nitty gritty things. Anyway, after 10 years, I have to support this person. So I will not do much now. Because I have something, it doesn't mean that the person is asking. So there is a change in the way people do. And right now during my college days, my friend's father, she told her, like, she's from Andhra, and then there they have a huge dowry system. Okay, he told her on the face while she was doing her degree, saying that, see, I don't know if I have enough money to give dowry. So it is your responsibility, you have to find someone person, so that you have to settle down. So he was very upfront when she was in third year of engineering. Okay, and then that time it was a shocker for me. How can he say? While reading this, it struck to me that, like, oh my God, my friend's father was so advanced because he knew. And then she is very well settled in US now. With she married my classmate. I mean, we were friends, right? Like, she married my classmate, and then she is well settled because her father upfront said it. She took it in a very positive way, and then possibly he might have put it across in a very positive way. So there are, like, I have seen few, whereas I have seen the other side of the Indians, where I have seen this part also, where the people who really know that how much hard effort I have put, and then I know down the line after 20 years where will I be, then they get really protective with money, and then whatever they do, because they know, once the job is not there. I was working earlier, and now when the moment I left my job, I know how I should save, how I should be safe till every day when the paycheck is coming, right? Like, people may not get it the moment paycheck stops, and then you know what kind of lifestyle you have, and then if you want to maintain after 20 years, it will just get triggered, I feel. So Indians, it's changing. And then
Yeah,
because money is
I'm not
flowing in now.
questioning.
Indians didn't have this much money earlier. This is the generation which is getting more money now. So that is why it will change. It is changing, is what I feel.
Yeah, again, I am not saying what is right or wrong over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, same.
I
Yeah,
am
same
just
here.
saying that context, any problem or any solution or any law or theory or suggestion has to be looked in a particular context.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, unfortunately, our country is full of diversity and contradictions all across. So while you are talking, and just going by that example, I don't know the background to it, about your friend's father talking about not being able to give a dowry. Honestly, for me, the fact that you are giving a dowry itself is a crime. You are even thinking about it.
No,
But
not
that's my
really. See,
context. Seema,
this is like,
wait. I'm sorry,
yeah.
but I'm just saying it's a different context altogether. For me, coming from my family background, that anyone has even talked about this word is horrifying. Like, hello, this doesn't even come in my reference point. Not now, not even in my mother's time, not even in my grandmother's time. Which is what I'm saying, that even in a group of 20 people, we'll have diverse backgrounds. That's the way the culture is, which means we all have to take whatever is applicable to us, and not everything in the book would be applicable to us, is all my suggestion.
Absolutely. When it comes to thank you, Parul and Seema, for the conversation. So when it comes to matter of co-signing, for example, where I come from again, because it is so, one, it is really common for families, friends to be in debt, help each other. It's so common among siblings, neighbors and all of that, that's there. And this thing about co-signing, and it has a different term out here where I come from in Nagaland. They'll say KYC, so which means that someone else is taking loan on behalf of somebody else. So that is really prevalent and really common. And within the family, there have been many situations where one has taken because it's family, and then not being able to pay, the other ones from it's getting deducted from the salary. So that is also something that you get to see out here, because again, it's very common where we are, and they have a hard time saying no, can't do, right, can't help. So that is what it is. So Yeah, thank you so much. I don't think we have the time to read about the financial advisor, but that was a really, maybe I'll try reading it. We have 5 minutes because I feel that it is very interesting. So I'll read it for everybody in the last few minutes that we have. So you and your financial professional, you know that what I want most of all is for you to turn toward your money and get involved with it. I want you to become a saver and then an investor, and I know you have the goods to do it. I'm a pragmatist, however, so I also know that once women and men have a significant amount of money, they often choose to hire a financial advisor to manage their money for them. Entering into a relationship with a financial advisor is right up there among the most important committed relationships you can have. And if you go this route, I will ask you to remain vigilant about doing what is right rather than what is easy. It is easy. It is easy never to look at your statements. It is easy to follow your advisor's advice blindly, but it is not right. And you cannot break your commitment to yourself. So when you do work with a financial advisor, it is important that you remain vigilant and stay totally involved. The key, however, is finding an advisor worthy of your commitment. What to look for in a financial advisor? First, I want you to be wise to the fact that just about anyone can call themselves a financial advisor. In fact, many so called advisors are nothing but salespeople dressed up to impress you. I know this firsthand. Remember, I got my start as a financial advisor for a major brokerage firm in 1980. I spent most of my training time learning how to sell you the investments they wanted me to sell you. You know what they taught me? Rather than calling you and asking you if you wanted to buy 100 shares of a stock, I was to ask you if you wanted to buy 100 or 200 shares of a stock. What's the difference? If I asked you the first question, you could simply say no. If I said no, then what would I say? But the second question, you can't answer with a yes or a no. See what I mean? Even if an advisor you are considering comes highly recommended by a friend, I need to ask you, does that friend have a true understanding of how they are doing with their money? Are you sure that they have not been sold a bill of goods? Any advisor you use needs to answer the questions below to my satisfaction. How long have you been a financial advisor? At least 10 years is what you want to hear. Experience is an important factor. You want to know that the person giving you advice has been through good and bad economic times. What certificates, licenses, or accreditations do you have? Your advisor has got to be licensed to give you advice. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should be giving financial advice in any way, shape, or form if they have not taken the time to get the necessary credentials to give you that advice. At the very least, you want your advisor to have one, if not more, of the following certifications and licenses. So we'll have to see what's applicable in India. A word about credentials. If you are looking for someone to help you in all areas of your financial life, from insurance to taxes to estate planning and from retirement planning to investments, I want you to work with an advisor who is a certified financial planner, someone who has taken the time to do the coursework and complete the exams to earn the CFP. Must also keep up with continuing education credits to keep the certification current. How financial advisors charge for their services. Do not ask a financial advisor what he or she charges. I only want you to work with a financial advisor who tells you exactly how they charge without your having to ask. This is an important measure of their honesty. This is how they should charge. They charge an hourly rate to give you advice, or they charge a percentage of the assets they have under management for you, or a combination of the above. So this is page 236 onwards. Page 237, there are some more questions you can ask your advisor. So at Women on Wealth, of course, we are educating women so that you know enough to take charge of your finances so that you don't have to rely on a financial advisor. That's why we give education. We impart whatever knowledge there is to know about personal finance. That's what we do. But I highly recommend, Seema has also recommended, do read page 237 onwards. It's 2 more pages to understand what questions to ask. Continue reading this book, and I will shortly announce the new book that we will pick up in the book club, and we complete this book. Yeah, I think we can come in for the closing next week, the final few pages, final thoughts, and then we'll start reading the new book. Okay, but for everyone joining in, do share in the groups you are in or in the Telegram group how your experience has been of being here in the book discussion. Today we tried slightly different model where we did a whole lot of reading and some discussing. Okay, so lots of love. It's 6:01. I complete here. Thank you all for joining in, and see you in the book club, and see you next week in the discussion. Have a happy weekend, everyone. Thanks. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.